to another episode of the Daily Wick, where we're going to talk about stocks that I'm following. We're going to look at, I don't even know how that's possible because I muted that. We are going to discuss charts that I'm looking at, stocks that we've been discussing. We may have even mentioned some that are being brought up today. I don't remember. My main focus when I go through charts is technical analysis, but the basic support, resistance, trend lines, and patterns that we recognize in these type of markets. With that said, if you've been watching this content up until now, please share and like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Trying to grow the account. I am going to kind of cut this short today because I'm a little bit under the weather. I don't know if you can hear from my voice, but 'tis the season. With that said, I have it open up to Intel, so just give me one moment, and I am going to focus on Intel. Actually, let me just escape and just go into monthly. I think we discussed this in one of our previous videos. Yeah, we did. We charted out. We put our supports, resistance areas, and I don't know why I didn't settle it. Truth is, I own a position in the stock. I've been building position in the 19 area range. I happen to like the Intel. I think that with the investments behind it, with US behind it, I believe that there could be a turnaround for this company. So we were trading in a range between 26 and change and about 18, 19 and change. And we actually broke that with a gap up this morning. You can actually see we gapped up from about 25.32 to about 30.50 and then ran as high as about 31.70 and change, and or 31, almost 32. And we're at all-time highs for this year. Not all-time highs, I'm sorry, for this year's highs. So we have a huge gap over here. Now, the news is important to note that we had SoftBank did a $2 billion investment. That was previously we had the U.S. investing into 10% of the company. And then this morning I woke up and I was looking at the news that NVIDIA committed $5 billion to Intel. And we gapped up on that. We gapped up, like I said, from that $25 range to that $30 range, and now are near the 32. So with that said, let's take a look at the graph now, because we got to take a look at the next areas of support and resistance. And we're actually at a area of resistance right here, which we want to just draw out just to show you, because I just want to show you. You could see it clearly around here. So, but let me make this clearer. So just give me 1 second. Let's remove this and let's draw a ray, a horizontal ray. Okay. So we're going to put it about over here, and you can see it. It's right where we are right now. It's actually where we're touching at that 31.5. We consolidated this area. We broke out. The next resistance areas is 31.71 or 31 and $32. Can we break this 32 area? Then we'll probably see that 37 mark, and then we can discuss what we're going to do. But right now, depending on how the day goes, I expect this to be an area of resistance for now, unless proven otherwise, right? We don't have a crystal ball. We got to take a look and see what the markets are showing, what the charts are showing us. It's definitely a huge move from where we were yesterday. I'd expect somewhat of a pullback and then build up at this resistance area before we take the next leg up. So right now, I'm still in my position. I haven't taken anything off, actually. This is a long-term hold for me. Again, let me just specify, anything that you hear from me on this video is not investment advice. It's strictly just explaining to you the reason for the positions that I hold, why, based on charts and technical analysis. Okay, let's go to now we have Intel. let's take a look at PLTR, because we discussed this the other day, and we were discussing how if we got this break, let me put another ray line over here. Where are you? Oh, I guess it's the wrong one. No, sorry about this, guys. For the silence here. All right, we'll just use the. Oh no, here we go. Where are you? Horizontal array. Where are you? There you go. Okay, so I'm going to remove this line that we had over here because I just want to show it more clear. Remove. And I'm going to place this at this area. No, where are we? Okay, so we have this area right here. About 172, so it's about here. There we go. So we can actually take it back to even over here. And you can see how it was touched once over here, again over here, again over here, failed to break out. Came in, touched support, now broke out of that 172. This candle was a key candle yesterday. It really should have been an indication of what we'd probably see today. But putting that aside, we broke that 172 area, and we've been pushing to as high as 176 at one point, a little bit over 176. So, like I said, when we crossed this line of near the 172, I figured at this point it's just an indication of a continuation of the pattern. It's more likely to test this 190 area. I don't expect it to happen overnight. I expect it to build up consistently within the pattern that it's currently in, within the trend line that it's currently in. You can see this trend line that's built up over this period of time, and it respecting it very nicely. You had a bounce off trend, bounce off trend, bounce off trend. Otherwise, it's been trading above that trend. So, like I said, when we got that 172, based on the chart, I would assume that it would continue into that 190 area. Still holding my position. I did trade it somewhat a little bit today because there was an opportunity that presented itself with the VWAP, a pullback to the VWAP, which is where I actually purchased around when we broke above VWAP, and then I traded up to the 176. But this is a strategy that we can later on discuss. But I was confident in making this trade based on the opening bar and the previous bar of the daily, which we just pointed out, right? And with the strength and the volume that you saw in the morning, if I go back to the 5 minute, you can see the volume was quite strong. You can almost draw it out. You came in strong. Oops. Came in strong. You came down. You had an uptick in volume. But where you came down was around this bar. When we had that cross, the volume came up and we broke out. Right now, volume is falling off, so there's really no trades on the table for me, unless at least intraday. Just watching it closely, and I guess my next target on this is about the 190. There is nothing on the daily right now that it needs to break out of. There's really nothing ahead of it. Any major support, any major resistance area that I'm concerned about. Moving on. So we covered Intel, we covered Palantir. Let's talk a little bit about Oracle. I discussed this in previous days. We were discussing that gap and the gap fill. It started, this was their initial gap. It broke down into the gap. And then we had some news, and I had to take my position. I didn't want to hold my position overnight. I did make money for the most part. But I was concerned because a couple days ago I heard there was a TikTok deal. Oracle speculation. There was speculation that Oracle is going to be one of the beneficiaries, and given that as it made me a little concerned to hold it overnight. Although I did put an alert out here at about 292, which is roughly where if we do see a cross below it, I will get back into that short side, because I do believe we have room down to about 260, 260-ish in that area. So I have an alert set over here. Let me just see. The gap fill. You can see it says right over here, gap fill after TikTok news. So if the reason I wrote that is that even with the TikTok news, if we're able to break down, I would expect it to follow through at this point. But right now, based on the hourly, the even short term, there's nothing really to trade off on it. Just to be patient. That's what you got to do, is you got to let things wait. You don't want to force trades. NVIDIA, another one. And I charted this out actually earlier with you guys not here, but I figured I'd have it. Nothing crazy going on today. The NVIDIA is trading together in tandem with Intel. Moving on that news, because NVIDIA did invest into Intel $5 billion, I believe. And you can take a look more at the details in the news. But let's go back to the daily. So we have this area over here that is an area of support slash resistance this is an area we need to break out of. Right now, if you go back a couple of days ago, I discussed there was a gap on NVIDIA when that Oracle news came out, and we've played around since yesterday. We had a sell-off. I wasn't in the office yesterday, so I wasn't really part of the trading day, although I was watching very closely. And so basically, it's just a mess. You have basically what we call chop. There's just a lot of chop going on. I'd like to see it close above the 175.50 area if we can get above this line here. But again, nothing riding home right now. I just don't see any action. Just if you're long, it's not. There's nothing negative out there. If you're short, again, it's either way. There's no particular. I don't see either side on this right now. Let's take a look at anything else that we haven't looked at. Walmart. Ooh, Walmart. We discussed this the other day. Walmart, actually, I meant to. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the office yesterday, so we discussed the breakout of this head and shoulders. It looks like a skull. But we discussed this two shoulders. You got this head over here. You had this, even if you wanted to wait to the 104.51, and it did break out at one point. It ran to 106. Is it failed? No. I think it's the beginning. It's still in climb. It's still intact. There's nothing there. We had a little bit of a what do you call it? A head fake over here, and that happens. Um, I do believe that this area that we're in right now is a key level. We want to get out of here if we can somehow trade above the 105. I think that we'll retest that 106 and continue to make new highs. So let's take a look at the overall pattern on the stock. As you can see, it's just a continuous uptrend. And I mean, my work goes far back. So, but we're gonna focus on here. Um, Anything in the weekly showing up there? Let's see. No, again, we're right here. We're below this area. We need this 104. We need that 105. We got to get that 105. Once we capture 105 and stay above it, I believe we'll continue to move on to new highs. Let's take a look what else is going on. Let's see, IBM. Oop. Okay. Is there anything going on IBM? I do have an alert set for above here. I don't know what happened to all my charts here, but let's do some trend lines. Here, as you can see clearly, there's a trend right here. Let's put in some support resistance areas. I'd even go here. Put another one. Okay. And we'll put one more over here. Oh, my mouse is a little off today. Let's take a look down to the weekly. So you could see that we have this resistance. We can break out of this so I have a cross above the 265. We'll probably retest previous highs into to 300s. Let's take a look at the 4 hour, and you can see how this was earnings. Earnings, even though it was positive, even though they beat on earnings, there was a write down, I believe, on something related to insurance that the market didn't particularly like. So, we were at all time highs. There was a huge sell off over here. You could even probably see it as a gap. Yeah, you could see it as a gap, and then we just traded down since. And I think that it's a little oversold. Still, even at these levels, I think that this area right over here is a point of contention for the stock in regards to resistance. Let me just, like, if you take a look at this area, right? No, escape. Come on. What is wrong with my mouse today? No. There we go. Come on. It's like my mouse has got a mind of its own today. There we go. Right here. This is what we need to capture. It's nice to have this because we know this is the area where we're having most resistance. And so when you're looking at, let's say even a 1 hour, or we can probably go less, we see we're right in that area right now. Let's see in the 5 minute if you can see it more clear. But this is an area of resistance, so it's something to be concerned about. And there's no trade on, if at least for me, until I see a little bit more clarity as to where and the direction we're in. That, give it as it may, I really don't have the voice or the energy to continue, and I would like to actually introduce some other stocks that I'm following. However, I'm going to end off here today. If you do like this information that I'm sharing with you, if it's been helpful anywhere, if maybe you have suggestions on what you would like to see in our upcoming Daily Wick shows, please comment below and let me know. And please don't forget to subscribe. Hit the like button and subscribe. We always appreciate new subscribers, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining the Daily Wick. I am your host, Akiva Boaz. Pleasure.